Is that even possible? You're probably asking. Yes, it is possible to defeat your enemies without even throwing a punch. These are serious mind-hacking techniques from the ancient Stoics. And let me tell you, this stuff is powerful. It is life-changing. We're going to dive deeper into the wisdom of men like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. These guys were the Navy SEALs of the mind. They knew how to navigate the battlefield of life and come out on top. And the best part, their tactics are still relevant today. We're talking timeless strategies for dealing with difficult people and coming out ahead. So buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. We're going to break down 10 Stoic principles that you can use to help you outsmart your enemies and live a more peaceful Zen life. Let's kick things off with a Stoic heavyweight Seneca. Seneca knew that the first battleground is right between your ears. You ever notice how your enemies love to push your buttons? It's like they're trying to get a rise out of you. Well, Seneca would say, don't give them the satisfaction. See, when we react emotionally, when we let that anger or fear take over, we're playing right into their hands. We're losing control. And in the words of Seneca himself, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Think about it. Have you ever sent an angry email or text only to regret it later? That's your emotions hijacking your better judgment. But when you stay calm and collected, you maintain that tactical advantage. I remember this one time I was having a heated debate with a guest on my podcast. Things were getting tense. You know, the kind of situation where you can feel the temperature in the room rising. But I took a deep breath, remembered Seneca's words, and instead of firing back with some snarky comeback, I just listened. And you know what? That completely disarmed the guy. By staying calm, I was able to steer the conversation in a more productive direction. It was like jiu-jitsu for the mind. So the next time someone's pushing your buttons, remember Seneca. Take a breath, step back, and choose your response instead of reacting. You'll be surprised at how powerful it can be. All right, let's talk about Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher. This guy was a master of controlling what he could control. And he knew that a lot of times our enemies are just a product of their environment, their upbringing, their own messed up wiring. You can't change that. But what you can change is your own reaction. You can choose how you respond to their BS, and that's where true power lies. Think of it like this. You're a basketball player, right? You can't control if the other team's point guard is having a lights-out game. But you can control your own game. You can hustle, play tough defense, and make smart decisions. I've had guests on the podcast who have overcome incredible adversity. I'm talking about people who have every reason to be angry, bitter, resentful, but they choose to focus on what they can control, their attitude, their work ethic, their outlook on life, and because of that, they're thriving. It's like that old saying, you can't always choose the music life plays for you, but you can choose how you dance to it. So when it comes to your enemies, don't waste your energy trying to change them. Focus on your own game. That's where the real victory lies. Now let's talk about Epictetus. This guy was all about patience, about playing the long game. He knew that sometimes the best way to defeat your enemy is to simply outlast them. It's like that old saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. You don't always have to react immediately. Sometimes the best revenge is living well, and that takes time. I've seen this happen time and time again. People who are so caught up in their anger, their need for revenge, they end up sabotaging themselves. They make rash decisions, they burn bridges, all because they can't let go of the past. But the Stoics, they understood that time has a way of working things out. What seems like a huge deal today might be a distant memory tomorrow. I remember when I first started out in stand-up comedy, there were so many other comics who were more successful, more established. It would have been easy to get caught up in envy and resentment. But I just kept my head down, kept working hard, kept honing my craft. And eventually things started to happen for me. The Stoics would call that amor fati, loving your fate, embracing whatever life throws your way. And that includes your enemies. Because sometimes the best way to defeat them is to simply outlive them and watch as their own negativity consumes them. Chapter 4. Kill them with kindness. The rusticus rule. All right, this next Stoic principle might sound counterintuitive, but trust me on this one, we're talking about killing them with kindness. That's right. I'm talking about turning the other cheek, even when every fibre of your being is screaming for revenge. Now, I'm not saying you should be a pushover. There's a big difference between being kind and being a doormat. But what I'm saying is that sometimes the best way to disarm your enemy is to show them compassion, to treat them with respect, even if you don't think they deserve it. I'm talking about embodying that rusticus quote. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous and surly. They are like this because they can't help it. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But think about it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Maybe they'll be caught off guard by your kindness. Maybe it'll make them rethink their own behavior. And even if it doesn't, you'll know that you took the high road. You'll have peace of mind, which is more than you can say for someone who's consumed by hatred and resentment. Chapter 5. Seek understanding, the empathy advantage. Here's the thing about enemies, folks. They're not born, they're made. Something happened in their lives. Something twisted their perspective, made them see the world through a different lens. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with them, but if you can at least try to understand where they're coming from, it can make a world of difference. Think about it. When you're in a fight with someone, do you ever stop and ask yourself, what's going on with this person? What are they going through? Probably not, right? We're so caught up in our own anger, our own hurt, that we forget that the other person is a human being too, with their own hopes, fears and insecurities. But the Stoics, they understood the power of empathy. They knew that sometimes the best way to disarm your enemy is to simply listen to them, to try to see the world from their point of view. I remember this one time I was having a disagreement with a friend of mine. Things were getting heated and I was about to let him have it. But then I stopped myself and asked him, hey man, what's really going on here? What's got you so fired up? And you know what? He broke down. He told me about all the stress he was under, all the stuff he was dealing with in his personal life, and suddenly everything clicked. I understood where he was coming from, and it completely changed my perspective. Now, I'm not saying that empathy is a magic bullet. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it can be a powerful tool for understanding your enemies and finding common ground. And sometimes that's all it takes to turn an enemy into an ally. Chapter 6. Integrity, the unbreakable shield. Let's talk about integrity for a minute, folks. This is one of the most important Stoic principles, and it's especially relevant when dealing with enemies, because here's the thing. When you're under attack, when someone's trying to bring you down, it's tempting to fight fire with fire, to stoop to their level. But the Stoics, they knew that true strength lies in staying true to your values, even when it's hard, even when it seems like everyone else is cutting corners. Think about it. What good is it to win a battle if you lose yourself in the process? What kind of victory is that? I've seen this happen time and time again. People get so caught up in winning, in proving themselves right, that they're willing to compromise their values, their integrity. And in the end, they always lose. But when you maintain your integrity, when you stick to your principles, you're untouchable. You become like a rock in a storm, unmoved by the chaos around you. And you know what? People notice that. They might not like it at first, but deep down they respect it. They respect someone who stands for something, someone who doesn't waver in the face of adversity. All right, let's talk about the power of silence. This is one of the most underestimated Stoic techniques, but it can be incredibly effective. Because sometimes the best way to defeat your enemy is to simply say nothing at all. Think about it. When someone's trying to provoke you, trying to get a rise out of you, what's the best way to disarm them? Ignore them. Don't give them the satisfaction of a response. It's like jiu-jitsu for the mind. You're using their own energy against them. They're expecting a reaction, and when they don't get one, it throws them off balance. I've used this technique myself, both on and off the podcast. There have been times when someone's trying to drag me into an argument, trying to bait me into saying something stupid. But I just stay silent, let them rant and rave, and eventually they just wear themselves out. Now, I'm not saying you should never speak up. There are times when it's important to stand up for yourself, to speak truth to power. But what I'm saying is that silence can be a powerful tool, especially when dealing with difficult people. Let's talk about leadership for a minute, folks. Because here's the thing. True leadership isn't about bossing people around or barking orders. It's about inspiring others to be their best selves, to rise to the occasion. And one of the best ways to do that is to lead by example. Think about it. What's more powerful, telling people what to do or showing them? Actions speak louder than words, right? I've had the privilege of interviewing some incredible leaders on my podcast, people who are changing the world in their own unique ways. And one thing I've noticed about all of them is that they're all incredibly passionate about their work. They're not just going through the motions, they're truly living and breathing their mission. And that passion, that energy, it's contagious. It inspires others to step up their game, to be the best versions of themselves. So if you want to neutralize your enemies, if you want to win them over to your side, the best thing you can do is to be the best version of yourself. Let your actions speak for themselves. All right, let's talk about adversity for a minute, folks, because here's the thing. Life is tough. It's full of challenges, setbacks, disappointments, and if you're not careful, those challenges can break you. But the Stoics, they had a different perspective. They saw adversity as an opportunity for growth, a chance to test themselves, to become stronger. Think about it. When you lift weights, are you challenging your muscles or are you coddling them? You're challenging them, right? You're pushing them to their limits so they can grow stronger. Well, life is like that too. Every challenge, every setback is an opportunity to build resilience, to develop mental toughness. I've had guests on my podcast who have overcome incredible adversity. I'm talking about people who have faced death, who have lost everything, who have been through hell and back. And you know what? They all say the same thing, that it was the challenges, the struggles that made them who they are today. So the next time you're facing a difficult situation, don't shy away from it. Embrace it. See it as an opportunity to grow, to become stronger. All right, folks, let's wrap things up with one of the most important Stoic principles of all, letting go of resentment. Because here's the thing, holding on to anger, grudges, resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's only hurting you. Think about it. When you're holding on to anger, what are you doing? You're replaying the situation over and over again in your mind. You're letting that negativity eat away at you. But the Stoics, they understood that forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's not about condoning the other person's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. I've had guests on my podcast who have been through some truly horrific experiences. I'm talking about people who have been abused, betrayed, wronged in ways that most of us can't even imagine. And you know what? Many of them have found peace and healing through forgiveness. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Forgiveness is a process and it takes time, but it's possible. And it's worth it. Because when you let go of resentment, you're not doing it for the other person, you're doing it for yourself. You're freeing yourself from the chains of the past so you can move forward with your life. That's it for today, folks. We've covered a lot of ground, from controlling your emotions to embracing adversity. Remember, these Stoic principles aren't just some ancient philosophy, they're tools that you can use to navigate the challenges of life and come out on top. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you the most? What are some ways you've dealt with difficult people in your own life? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes. Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and keep searching for that higher truth. Peace.